hope you are well. It's time again that we meet to go through some of the important issues that we need to put in mind when we are answering assignments. It's Mr. Lusati here with Diploma in Education Secondary School subject Module 2, which is History, in short DES History 22. So we are going to look at how we were supposed as learners to answer different questions in this module. You will realize that for those who are aware, we don't have a lot of keywords. They are straightforward. We only have, basically we normally use keywords like describe, outline, discuss, explain, how far do you agree? So it's very important that you always pay attention to the keywords asked in the question because they require you to answer differently. So those keywords that I mentioned, they require you to structure your answer in a different way. So let's go through together to see how we're supposed to put our answers. Good. The questions that have describe, discuss, or outline in them, like any type of question, and it's always the first one, if I'm not mistaken, you are required to be very brief. I will give you an example as soon as we reach to some of the contents that I want you to know. But for now, any question that comes with discuss or describe, you don't need to write a lot. You just have to stick to 5 clear facts, not much explanation needed. Because as future teachers, you need to be coached how it's done. Okay, focus on what is asked in the question, nothing else. Avoid listing your answer so that you don't get used to listing. So in history, we must always present our answers in a paragraph. Okay, so this question is not asking you a lot. So normally it's, if you write a lot, you are just wasting the resources that you have. So I encourage you to always stick to 5 clear facts. So think about it. Another fact or keyword that you need to get used to is explain. And this one is again used most of the time. Explain why something happened. So this is where you need to list a lot of information in a paragraph way. So you are required to name and explain. Not list, you name and explain the facts thoroughly. I will again explain what I mean when we meet to the content. Always stick to the issue asked, because some of you tend to go out of topic most of the time. So stick to what is asked. Avoid being too general. Okay, separate different facts by skipping a line, because you are going to name and explain more than 3 facts, so don't group them together. Always separate, be neat, then you make it easier for us markers, and then we are going to give you your marks that you deserve. And remember again, we don't list or use bullets. Yes, another one that always being a bit challenging. This is the fact, which is how far do you agree? this type of question that will ask you in form of a statement. Then they will ask you, how far do you agree? Okay. Now this question requires you to support two sides of the story, or two arguments or point of view. Yes. And there are different types of how far do you agree. Sometimes they will give you only one fact, which I will explain very soon, or sometimes it's more than two. If there is only one fact, you will discuss 2 points. One, what is asked. The other one is other information that supports the question. Okay? The other side is for other possible reason, fact information that is not included in the question. Provide many answers for both sides as much as possible for better marks. So don't forget about that. You must always have more than two sides of the story. But if the question contains two facts or more in the question, you are only required to support facts that are mentioned. Okay? You are not allowed to mention other facts again. Separate your different explanation by skipping a line again, and stick to what is asked, and provide other reasons as required. Yes, always balance your answers. Never stick to one side only, because you'll get low marks. Please, learners or students, understand the questions first before you attempt to answer them. So most of you have a tendency of just going through once, then you did not get the better view, you already start answering. At the end of the day, your answers are not corresponding to the question. So you must always understand, especially for this type of question, how far do you agree, so that you don't talk things or write things that are not required. Yes. Good. Let's see with the content that I want you to be aware a little bit. Here I have South African history. Okay. Read something about the National Party. Why did they win the election? Some answers include they were having a very beautiful campaign. They promised people land, better future, and all that. So read more. Okay, and it's the same National Party that introduced apartheid. So if I'm going to use the keywords, then they will ask you, describe the policies of the National Party. Okay, or the campaign of the National Party. Then you just mention brief facts. They promise people land, housing. Every keyword that you mention, you get a mark. So you don't need to explain. But if the question is explain why National Party introduced maybe apartheid, then that is when you name and explain. For example, to separate people, okay, into tribes so that they can control them better, for them to keep the resources closer to them, plus many other reasons. Okay. In the same vein, you also need to know the difference between minority rule and majority rule. Minority meaning few, majority means many. So find out for me, what does it mean in terms of South African history? Okay, you are also required to know different acts or rules, like Group Area Act, Land Act. What did it bring? How did it affect the lives of the South Africans? Okay. Don't forget again, when you're a history student, you need to balance. So if they ask you, a question like, blacks did not benefit from apartheid in South Africa. How far do you agree? So you need to support, and you bring for us the other side is, where did they benefit? Things like education, things like skills, because they were working and all that. So find a way to balance. There are a lot of examples, okay? Or they will list the 3 acts, then they say which one affected the most. Which one affected the most the South Africans? So if they mention, for example, Group Area Act, Land Act, and Pass Law, which one affected the most? So if there are 3, then you stick to those 3. You don't need to bring in other acts. So if you choose one, then you also need to choose the 2. You discuss how did it affect the South Africa. So you address all the 3. But if it was like Group Area Act was hated by the South Africans, if there's only one fact, then you need to bring other acts that they did not include in the questions. So get the difference so that you can get better marks. Okay? I also want you to know blacks hated apartheid because it made them suffer so much in their own country. They got jobs that were poorly paying. Their education was not good. That's why they started to resist. Okay? However, you also need to know 2 crucial names here, or 3 per se. We have Nelson Mandela. What did he do? Why is he so famous? A person like President de Klerk, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, all those key names. Your notes, and on this point, I want you to be aware. You really need to read so that you can have a lot of information with you, so that you don't struggle. So I'm glad IOL provided you with reading materials, and at the same time we give you other books, or we refer you to other books that you need to read. Don't forget, very important, especially the current grade 10 textbook for Namibian and South African history. Try to get hold of the textbook of grade 10 they are using now, so that you can just improve on your knowledge. Okay. Another information here in terms of subject content is German history or depth study. This is where you are required to know a little bit more about the German story, where it started around 1918. Remember, they lost the war, which many say they started. That is First World War. Okay. Then they were punished during the Paris Peace Conference. But don't forget, Germany used to be a very rich country and strong in terms of military and wealth. So it used to be well when it was ruled by dictators and monarchs. But everything changed when World War I came to an end. Okay, because on top of losing, they were punished. So read more to be acquired. Read a bit about what do you understand with topics like the Weimar Republic. Dr. Gustav Stresemann, what did he do for Germany? Okay, what impact did he do? And then when Germany was going through the problems, there comes depression. Okay, and then that is when Nazi came into power, 1933. under the leadership of Hitler. Read a bit so that you can be aware of many information. Okay, Hitler brought a lot of changes. Sorry. And one thing he's known for is his foreign policy, going against the Treaty of Versailles. Please read further. You will be able to uncover a lot of facts. However, due to Hitler, Germany caused World War II by attacking and invading many countries. The last, which is Poland. That is why Britain and France declared war after the appeasement policy, meaning they make him proud and happy by accepting his condition of taking Czechoslovakia, but Hitler went further to attack Poland in 1939, and then war started again. Yes, as I conclude, what is very important is pay attention to keywords. Pay attention to keywords, and as you go through different questions, you can see my contact details there. Very easy to reach, so that we can understand facts better. So my concern is, don't just write, don't just start writing. Structure your questions, your answers according to the question. Remember the keywords? Most commonly describe, go straight to the point, explain, name and explain. You name a fact, then you explain it a bit in detail. And then there's another question that requires you to agree and at the same time disagree, which is how far do you agree. You'll find that question also quite a lot. So balance your answers. Yes. But if you still have further question, as I said, the contact details are there. I'm at your service so that we can equip you for the future. So all the best with your studies, and study a lot. Don't delay, because we are waiting for you to impact the knowledge. So see you very soon.